our bronze sponsor, silver sponsor, Tamturbo. Brecht Vanlee will bring you an introduction talk on compressors as efficient and intelligent assets.
Welcome to this asset performance presentation about compressors as efficient and intelligent assets. During this presentation, I would like to ask you to please note your questions and feel free to join me afterwards in the Tamturbo booth to ask them. My name is Brecht Vanlee. I'm working with Tamturbo as the area director for West Europe, Asia, and Australia. I have a 10-year history in oil-free compressed air, having worked for two market leaders. I gathered my knowledge across all functional domains because I was always interested in the broader picture and not only a part of it. So now please let's talk a little bit about air. Compressed air is used in several segments: the chemical, electronics, food and beverage, textile, automotive industry. Compressed air can be used as a utility or as a part of the core process. In most of the cases, air is being used as a utility in the plant. And of course, the customer has high expectations. High air quality is determined by the segment the customer is operating in. Today, in most cases, it is 100% oil-free air. A high flexibility, meaning a wide turn down of the compressor and a fast reaction without energy losses. A high flexibility, as I said. The low total cost of ownership is what we are basically measured on, the lowest. It needs to be reliable and needs to have a high availability, and some added expectations these days are also, for example, the remote monitoring and a heat recovery possibility. Of course, in practice, things can be quite different. So there is no monitoring. Maintenance is only done when it's too late. There is a limited knowledge as well on specific technologies. And basically, the key parameters aren't visible. Because of this, things can go wrong. Also, the installations can be quite big, and a lot of air is often needed, especially in bigger plants. So there is a very high dependency of this air. The integration and SCADA systems can be very tricky because of oil electronics, closed software, limited available data. For example, in this case, it was only start, stop, reset alarm and trip that could be made visible to the customer. Therefore, at Tamturbo, we do things differently. We try as much as possible to accommodate these customer needs. Our slogan is touch-free, carefree, and we try to live up to the customer expectations and go beyond. Now, how do we do this? We do this with our touch-free technology. Our core technology is made on a single module consisting of a permanent magnet motor, which is number 1, 2 magnetic bearings, number 5, at both sides, and 2 impellers or stages on a single shaft. The shaft is then lifted in the air by the magnetic bearings during the operation. Hence, there is no friction and no energy losses, and of course, low maintenance. Inside our machine, we use 2 such core modules, as you see on the right side of the screen, the big circles, basically, left and right. The complete machine is water-cooled. Also, the VSD drives are water-cooled. So because of this, there is also the possibility of heat recovery at a much higher rate than other traditional technologies, because all the components that need cooling are water-cooled, so that heat can be recuperated. All asset-related variables are presented in best case as 3 major parts in the compressed air domain: the maintenance and the service cost, the investments, and the energy cost. However, often maintenance plays a much bigger role than presented here. And there is also the time needed for the planning, the guided intervention on site, the correction of settings. A lot of time and money is wasted in this way. What we do different, we measure. We measure everything and we display it as well. All our parameters are open to our customers to follow at the machine or remotely. Because we use a standard PLC as an operating platform, SCADA integration is quite easy. Now your asset is connected to our centralized Tamturbo technical support team. They are constantly monitoring your assets and warning you if something is bound to go wrong. So, did you know that industrial compressed air consumes about 10% of compressed air consumes about 10% of the global industrial electricity consumption? Because of this, next to older technologies, our innovative technology has the highest in-class efficiency, as shown here from a European study on compressed air efficiency is called Lot 31. It's important because of the 100% of the electricity going into the machine, only 15% is going out as air, as compressed air. Of this 15%, 50% is actually in the form of air, and the other 50% is wasted in the form of leaks, artificial demands, and inappropriate use. Every plant has certain small leaks. Artificial demand means if the pressure set point of the installation is, for example, at 7.5 bar, the machine will actually operate till 7.7 bar, for example, and everything above 7.5 until the unload point is actually artificial demand. Inappropriate uses, for example, if you clean your floor with compressed air, of course, this is not adding value. It's better to use a brush. On the topic of the maintenance, we do condition-based maintenance. We are a game changer actually in the industry where traditional compressed air companies go more into the direction of having an hourly based interval. We do it condition based, and because we monitor everything that happens in our machine, it's quite easy for us to see what is going on, and often components and even filters can last longer than indicated. So also this adds value to our customer. Of course, because of this, we can claim that we have the lowest total cost of ownership in the industry. If we compare it to other technologies like, for example, oil-free screw technology or oil lubricated screw technology, our investment cost is actually equal to traditional oil-free technology. It's of course higher than oil-injected machine. Also, the air quality coming out of the machine is not the same. But as you see here, the maintenance is a lot lower because of the magnetic bearings, and also the electricity consumption is lower. Extra advantages that our efficiency of our machine is not deteriorating. Our efficiency is continuous, unlike other technologies. So because there is a deterioration in other technologies, it takes place that people need to change one of the core or the two core elements or other components. And this, of course, has a high cost as well. Because of this, if you take the difference in ROI from us to competition, we have savings averaging about 20 to 30%. So meaning 30 to 40,000 euros a year. What means that the payback is actually less than a year, what is extremely fast in the industry. So as a summary, we do the system control. We see the machine, we see all the parameters, and you can see here that compared to other technologies, we have a couple of categories that we also want to compare ourselves on next to basically the total cost of ownership. An oil lubricated screw has a low investment, but high service costs, also a small energy cost, but it needs to be overhauled. The filtration is high because you need to remove the oil. There is a risk for the desiccant. This is all not so easy, and because of all the oil, there is a high environmental load, meaning that the total cost of ownership is not the lowest in class. For an oil-free screw, the investment is high, the service is high, the energy cost is okay, but also here there is a risk because of several components used in this technology. In Tamturbo, there is no oil. There is not a single drop of oil in our machine. The friction isn't there because of the magnetic bearings. So there isn't a real service cost related to changing core components. Investment is, let's say, the same as traditional technologies. It's very efficient. The filtration is minimal. The air desiccant doesn't have a risk because of the oil penetration, meaning that it's the lowest total cost of ownership that we can offer. No changing of the oil, no environmental load, and no air quality risk. That was my summary. Thank you very much for paying attention. Again, mentioning that if you have any questions, please feel free to drop by the booth. And